Hello everyone, this is S. Divya from Biotechnica and today I am here to give you some insights regarding one of the important processes that happens in our cell, that is cellular autophagy. What is their mechanism and significance? Today we are going to discuss about all these aspects in details. So when I say cellular autophagy, this particular topic is important for CSIR NET exam, GATE as well as DBT. So without wasting much time, let's dive into the session. So what exactly is this autophagy? Well, autophagy literally means eating oneself. That means the process by which the cytosolic proteins and organelles are delivered to lysosomes. Why? Because lysosomes are having hydrolytic enzymes. So they are responsible for their degradation and later on recycling back to the cell so that it can be reutilized by it. So basically autophagy is defined as a self-degradative process that is important for balancing sources of energy at critical times in development and specifically in response to any kind of nutrient stress. The autophagy is generally thought as a survival mechanism, although its deregulation can be linked to non-apoptotic cell death. So, what is the process of autophagy? So, as you can see in this image, we have got a molecule. So, it could be anything. It could be an organelle, it could be a macromolecule, it could be a microorganism. So, they are sequestered within a compartment. We call it as an autophagosomes. Later, once it has done the process of completion, this autophagosome fuses with lysosome. So, we will get autolysosome. And finally, destruction of the cargo. So, this is the basic background about how an autophagy takes place. But to carry out this process, there are a number of proteins involved. And it is not only the nutrient stress that stimulates your autophagy process, but there are many other factors that can be stimulated leading to the activation of autophagy. Now that includes both extracellular and intracellular factors in the form of growth factors, stress conditions, whether it is in the form of oxidative stress, salt stress or ER stress. And as I have already mentioned, starvation condition, pathogen invasion, as well as aggregation of any proteins or organelles can also lead to the activation of autophagy. Now, as I have already mentioned that this is a very difficult or different process that requires coupling of number of proteins together to carry out. So before getting into details about the mechanism, so I am giving you some insights regarding the molecules, enzymes or proteins that are involved in the process. The first protein that is involved over here is ULK1. That is a serine threonine specific protein kinase. Now this particular complex is acting as a sensor for the nutrient status of the cell. So depending upon the availability of nutrition, it can either initiate autophagy or it can terminate autophagy. But again, this is a particular kinase that can be phosphorylated by number of proteins. And based on that, it is either preventing or promoting the process. For example, if it is phosphorylated by mTORC1, that is mammalian target of rapamycin complex 1, then it is going to inhibit autophagy. On the other hand, if it is phosphorylated by AMP activated protein kinases, then it is known to promote autophagy. So based upon the phosphorylation by different molecules, the autophagy process can be regulated. So once this ULK1 protein is phosphorylated, they are responsible for activating a number of autophagy related genes. That includes Beclin 1, vacuolar protein sorting 34, autophagy gene 10, which are all important for the process of initiating the autophagy. Next component of this process will be class 3 PI3K complex. Now, this class 3 PI3K complex is basically a regulator of autophagy as well as endocytic trafficking. So, this particular process is involved in the generation of a particular lipid component. We call it as PI3P, that is phosphatidyl inositol 3-phosphate, because this is the lipid component that is involved in the recruitment of other proteins leading to the formation of autophagosomes, which is a crucial structure or an intermediate step in the autophagy process. Now, this class 3 PI3K complex is basically a subunit, a multi-subunit protein complex. So, we can see it is made up of 4 important proteins. First one is VPS34. Now, this is the catalytic subunit responsible for phosphorylating the lipid component PI, so that we will be getting phosphatidyl inositol 3-phosphate. The second protein over here is VPS15. This is a regulatory serine 309 protein kinase responsible for stabilizing the VPS34 and recruiting it to the membrane. The third one is Beclin-1, a regulatory subunit that are involved in autophagy initiation and vesicle nucleation. Nucleation means what? Nucleation means basically a seed for the subsequent growth of the new phase. So, you are producing a seed that will develop into a plantlet, right? End of the day. So, similarly, nucleation means it is basically the initiation process of the double membrane structure. Next, we have autophagy gene 14. These are involved in autophagosome formation when it is complexed with Beclin-1 and VPS34. So, these are the important components when I say class 3 PI3K complex. Now, the next component in the list is LC31. So, LC31 and LC32. LC3 is a microtubule associated protein which is particularly involved in the maturation of autophagosome. And they can exist in 2 forms, LC31 and LC32. LC31 is a cytosolic form of the protein, whereas LC32 is membrane-bound protein. In fact, I can say that this LC32 protein is converted from LC31 by lipidation process. Now, that will help in initiate formation and lengthening of autophagosome. Okay. So, lipidated form is LC32. That is what an important protein taking part in the autophagy process. So, they will associate together forming this autophagosomal membrane. That is what I said, lengthening of the autophagosomes. The next component for the autophagy related process is P62. This is a kind of receptor, or we can also call it as an sequestosome 1, a multifunctional adapter protein that plays a crucial role in selective autophagy. Selective autophagy means they are particular about removing a particular substrate or a specific organelle or a specific pathogen. So, this P62 usually contains UBA. Now, what is this UBA? That is ubiquitin associated domain. This domain is responsible for binding to ubiquitinated proteins, or I can say organelles that are destined for degradation. So, when we look into the autophagy process, the P62 will be having a defined motif, that is LIR motif. Since LC3 is involved over here, so there is an LC3 interacting region motif is there, which will directly interact and bind with LC32, and this interaction is critical for incorporating the ubiquitinated cargo into the autophagosomes. So, these are the major components of autophagy. Now, let's have a look on to how exactly these proteins are involved in the process. As you can see in this image, all it begins with the initiation wherein ULK1 complex will be activated. Upon activation of ULK1 complex, it will stimulate the activation of class 3 PI3K complex. Now, this complex is required for the formation of phagophore. So, it will stimulate the LC32 protein. How? By means of a complex of proteins, we call it as 5, 12 and 16L. So, these are the proteins which are involved in processing the LC32, stabilizing it, thereby activating it. So, as we can see here, it is just phagophore initiation and elongation is going on. So, it could be any of these molecules that can be targeted for degradation. So, we have the receptors present, P62, that is responsible for attaching to the ubiquitinated proteins. Now, after this, it results in the complete double membrane structure. We call it as an autophagosomes. Okay. After that, these autophagosomes will be fusing with lysosomes made up of, that is composed of hydrolytic enzymes. So, this fusion will be releasing the hydrolytic enzymes responsible for the degradation of the targeted organelle or the substrate. So, since we are having the hydrolytic enzymes, they will be degrading the components. So, this is your autolysosome. This is the fusion. After the fusion, you will be getting the autolysosome, wherein exactly the degradation takes place. So, looking into the details of each of this step. So, as I told you, in the initiation, the first thing is mTOR1 inhibition must be taken place. Why? Because it is a negative regulator of autophagy. So, when there is a nutrient-rich condition, mTOR is responsible for inhibiting autophagy. But if there is any stress condition, the activity of mTOR1 will be reduced and this allows the autophagy to proceed ahead. Next, once the mTOR is inhibited, ULK1 complex will be activated and it will keep on phosphorylating and activating downstream autophagy related proteins. The next step is nucleation. As I told you, nucleation means a seed through which the growth begins. So now here we have phagophore formations. Phagophores are nothing, a membrane sac. So we have class 3 PI3K complex that are involved in the recruitment to phagophore assembly site. So we have all these factors which I have already mentioned. They are responsible for the nucleation or the formation or the initiation of phagophore. Third step is expansion and cargo sequestration. So as I told you, LC3, they will undergo cleavage and lipidated, thereafter becomes associated with the double membrane structure, that is autophagosomal membrane. And this process is mediated by a complex of autophagy related genes known as 5, 12 and 16L. So corresponding to that, we have the autophagy receptors present, that is cargo recognition by autophagy receptors like P62, and in some cases you will also find NBR1 will also serve as the receptor. So they will recognize and bind to the cargos, facilitating their sequestration into the expanding phagophore. The fourth step is maturation. wherein the phagophore will be expanding, engulfing the cargo and closes enough to form a double membrane autophagosome structure. And after that, these autophagosome will be fusing with the lysosome. So this fusion of autophagosome to that of a lysosome is mediated by a group of proteins known as snare proteins. As we all know that snare proteins is one of the important proteins involved in membrane fusion. Apart from that, wrap proteins and other factors are also involved in the fusion event. And finally, we have degradation and recycling, wherein the content of autolysosomes, including the inner membrane, the captured cargo, everything will be degraded by the hydrolytic enzymes. So all the complex molecules will be broken down or break down into monomeric units like amino acids, monomers like sugars, fatty acids, which can be transported back to the cytoplasm so that it can be reutilized in cellular metabolism. So, this is all about your autophagy process. Now, if you see, we have different types of autophagy. Macroautophagy. Macroautophagy is more or less similar to the autophagy that I have already mentioned with you just now. So basically it involved the formation of a phagophore, then a double membrane structure will be there that results in autophagosome which fuses with the lysosome. So a normal autophagy is nothing but a macroautophagy. Microautophagy means what? Now this involves the direct engulfment of cytoplasmic materials. How? By the lysosomes through invagination, or it could be by means of protrusion, or it could be by means of septation. Septation of lysosomal membrane. And the third type of autophagy is chaperone-mediated autophagy. Now, this is an example of a selective autophagy. That means specific molecules will be targeted for degradation. And as the name indicates, here you will be having a molecular chaperone involved. The cytosolic proteins will be there, but the unique thing over here is that the cytosolic protein will be having a motif. We call it as an KFERQ-like motif, which will be recognized by the molecular chaperones. And they will be bound to a defined receptor known as LAMP2A. After which they will be translocated across the inner side of the lysosomal membrane targeted for degradation. So based upon the selectivity of autophagic cargoes, it can be non-selective. That means randomly it is responsible for the degradation of molecules or recycling of molecules. It could be organelles, foreign antigens or anything. Or sometimes it will be selective. Selective in the sense removal of a specific substrate or a specific organelle or maybe a intracellular pathogen. So these are the two approaches of autophagy process. Now based on the selectivity, we have again different types. So if you can see here, we have ribosomes if needs to be replaced. Ribophagy. Similarly for mitochondria, mitophagy. Peroxisome, pexophagy. Lipid droplets, lipophagy. If aggregated proteins are there, agriphagy. If foreign antigens or molecules or intracellular pathogens are there, xenophagy. So based upon the component, different names are given. So if we compare these processes, that is macroautophagy, then selective autophagy, suppose we are taking the example of mitophagy, then chaperone mediated and microautophagy. So autophagosome formation takes place both in macroautophagy as well as in mitophagy. But in case of chaperone and micro, there is no formation. Degradation of substrate in the lysosomes? Yes, lysosomes are involved in all the processes. What are the key proteins that are regulating the process? When it comes to macroautophagy, we have Becklin-1 proteins belonging to autophagy genes family. Then when it comes to selective autophagy, mitophagy, we have pink-1 proteins. Chaperone mediator, we have LAMP2A. For microautophagy, it is not identified. Selectivity for the processing, it's a non-specific process. But since it is a mitophagy, it will be targeting mitochondria. So similarly, based upon the target, the autophagy mechanism will be varying. In case of chaperone mediated, it applies only to the substrates that contains KFE-RQ sequence. Microautophagy, they process specifically to very small organelles. Okay. So this is a comparison chart of all the types of autophagy. Next, looking into the significance of autophagy. So as I have already told you, they are responsible for organelle turnover. That means replacing any specific organelles which is being damaged or old organelles like that. Then providing protection against metabolic stress and DNA damage. Any aggregated proteins are there that can be removed by means of autophagy. These are regulators of cell size. Not only cell size, autophagy also plays a crucial role in the regulation of animal lifespan. Now, autophagy can also induce programmed cell death. How this is possible? Because we have this P62 protein, that is the receptor which I had told you earlier. They can interact with caspase 8. So the accumulation of LC3 and P62 can lead to the caspase 8 aggregation. And finally, autoactivation resulting in apoptosis. Then defense against intracellular pathogens. Whatever the pathogens are there, so it can be removed. Antigen presentation. Well, autophagy can enhance this antigen presentation by degrading the intracellular proteins and pathogens which are then degraded into peptide fragments. Okay, and this will be loaded onto MHC class 2 molecules. So, presenting via CD4 plus T cells. Otherwise, it can also do cross presentation. Cross presentation in the sense on MHC1 molecule for CD8 plus T cell activation. And the last one, which is the most common, that is survival during the short-term starvation period. That means basically they are involved in nutrient recycling. So what is this nutrient recycling? So like they can degrade away the proteins into individual amino acids, or they can degrade away the lipids into fatty acids. They can break down glycogen into glucose molecules. So that will help in short-term starvation period. Okay. So that's it. That's all about autophagy, its mechanism and its significance. I hope so you are able to get a greater insight regarding this topic. So see you again in another important session or exciting session from another unit, another topic. Till then, thank you so much. Take care and bye-bye.